just gain weight. It's just in my genes, it's in my blood. The only thing that was in my blood was a lot of sugar. Hi, I'm Danny. As of today, I've lost 46 pounds, okay? I am on a journey to lose maybe like 90-ish pounds. We'll see. I'm really chasing physique over weight, but I know that, I need to get within a healthy weight range. And you know what, today I'm gonna tell you why you can't lose weight, because basically these are the reasons I couldn't lose weight. Up until a year ago, especially like right after 2020, I really believed that I was just meant to be bigger, meant to be plus size, because most of my family was, I thought it was genetic. I thought that there was nothing I could really do and that I would just always gain weight. I know that's not the case today, okay? Because I gained about 50 pounds. I'm actually whoa, I've almost lost the whole 50 pounds. I'm back to about the size that I was in 2020, because I know that between like 2019, after my second weight loss journey, which if you want to know more, there's actually a video on my account about that already. But after that weight loss journey, I just kind of fell off, and I was just living life. After that, the pandemic came around, and I pretty much just gained weight. So I'm just gonna dive right into it. These are 10 reasons that you can't lose weight, 10 reasons I couldn't lose weight. Let's start. The first reason that you can't lose weight is because you want a quick fix. With a quick fix, you essentially want the weight to just drop off immediately. How great would it be if we could lose 50 pounds in 2 weeks? Average size person. Obviously, like if you're morbidly obese, like 600 pounds plus, that would be easier, right? But how great would it be if I could have just been like, I'm just not gonna eat for 2 weeks and I'm gonna be at my goal weight immediately. That quick fix is not going to get you where you wanna be. A lot of times people will lose, somewhere between 5 to 10 pounds within the first week or two of their weight loss journey. And a lot of that has to do with dietary changes, reduction in like inflammation, or you losing like a lot of water weight because your body is just holding on to like so much water usually. Because we typically have a high sodium diet, before we lose weight. And so because of that, you see this rapid weight loss at the beginning of your journey. And then throughout your journey, you see that, that weight loss decreases, especially if you don't have as much weight to lose. So it's like, I only have about 100, I could lose up to like 120 pounds maybe. And no, I think 100 would be like the max. Wait, I was 220. That put me at 120. So about 110 pounds would be the maximum of what I could lose before like I'm underweight, and I would have a lot less muscle mass. I want to be muscular. Oh my God, you can't even see it. Oh no. What people see is rapid weight loss and then it slows down, and realistically we should only be trying to lose 1 to 2 pounds a week. Half a pound to 1 pound is average, and so people want to see rapid results. You're not patient, essentially. You are not being patient enough to see the results that you want. I literally just broke a 2-month plateau where I was stuck. My weight would not go down. I think it was past like 184.5, and then like I got to like 183.5, but it would shoot back up to like 187 or 189. I finally broke that plateau. I'm like 181 point something. I don't know off the top of my head. But if I would have stopped doing what I was doing, I would not have seen myself be successful. I would not have seen myself lose the weight. Like, you're gonna hit plateaus, that's normal. But again, you cannot force yourself to lose weight faster than what is healthy and sustainable. And this brings me to my next point. Number 2, you keep crash dieting. You want a quick fix, so you keep crash dieting. You don't need to switch to keto. You don't need to switch to carnivore. You don't need to be vegan unless you really want to, right? When it comes to weight loss and nutrition and whatever like diet you want to be on, whatever diet you want to be on, you need to choose a diet that you can stick with for the rest of your life, because this is a lifestyle change, which we'll get to that point later. Stop crash dieting. start making sustainable changes. I did not just jump straight into, meal prepping and tracking my calories. I literally just started swapping out, instead of eating a muffin for breakfast, I ate oatmeal, because oatmeal is going to have more fiber, therefore it's going to keep me fuller longer, and you need more fiber in your diet. In addition to crash dieting, you think that exercise is the solution to losing weight. Exercise alone is not going to increase your calorie deficit. It can definitely add to it, but if you don't change your diet, you're not going to see the results you want to see. Exercise is great and we should be doing it, but it's not the only factor when it comes to weight loss. You'll hear a lot of people say that losing weight is 80% your nutrition and 20% your activity. And so that's 10% from your exercise and then 10% from just your lifestyle habits. So like if you are a couch potato like me, you're probably not burning as many calories as you think you are because you're really not moving as much. I understand. I love to sit on my couch. It's like my favorite thing to do. Why would I say that? It's not my favorite thing to do. I do like sitting on my couch because I have a giant fucking TV, okay? It's gigantic. So I play games and I watch movies, but I also have a walking pad that I use every now and then so I can get my steps in, so I can be sedentary when I want to be sedentary. But I know that just getting those steps in and just walking or lifting weights it's not going to build this great deficit. And so what that all ties into is the fact that you don't understand nutrition. I didn't understand nutrition. So my first weight loss journey, again, go check that video out. I'll post it here. Right? I didn't understand nutrition. So I thought that, to lose weight, you just had to stop eating pretty much, right? I knew that a calorie deficit was important, but I didn't understand that there's a healthy range. And well, no, I can't even say I didn't understand it because I did. I knew what I was doing wasn't healthy, but I didn't care because one, I was young. My second weight loss journey, I still didn't truly understand nutrition. I kind of understood the importance of eating mostly whole foods, but I was just jealous of anybody that could eat junk food or anybody that I thought could eat junk food all day, right? Nobody's eating junk food all day and not gaining weight. That's the reality of it. That's how I gained my weight, okay? And so because we don't understand nutrition, we don't understand, the calories in versus calories out. You don't know how to identify how many calories is a reasonable amount for your size, essentially. Everybody has a set amount of calories, your basal metabolic rate, BMR, that's how many calories you will burn if you laid in bed all day. And so obviously that's going to vary per person. With your BMR, that's basically just the bare minimum calories you need to survive. And depending on your lifestyle habits and the other factors if you walk a lot, so you have light activity throughout the week, you may burn an extra 100 to 200 calories a day, right? As opposed to somebody who is an athlete, they work out 3 to 4 hours a day, maybe more. I don't know how much athletes work out. I've never been an athlete, but they're gonna need more calories than somebody who works an office job like me and stands up only to go to the bathroom and go to lunch. If you're not moving your body more, you're not going to burn more calories, first of all, and second of all, TDEE, that's what it is, total daily energy expenditure. And so your TDEE is basically going to tell you how much you need to eat. So again, I'm repeating myself here, but that's going to include things like age, height, weight, and then body composition. If you are 4'11" and 120 pounds, you're going to need a lot less calories than someone who is 6'2" and 250 pounds. And that's just the reality of it. And I think that's the other thing that people get really frustrated about is they're well, I have to eat so little. That ties back to my first point. Yeah, you might have to eat less than the average person, but you don't need to drop weight that quickly unless you are super morbidly obese, right? And you have to do it for health purposes. If you're just they call it vanity weight. If you're just losing vanity weight, then no, you probably don't need to drop 50, or not 50, but like 15 pounds in 2 weeks. You can do that over a slow period of time. And then also factor in some recomposition, build some lean muscle mass, because most people want that toned look. Whatever, it's not this, that's a different thing. And so you really have to understand, this one's going to be like a really big chunk of this video, but you really have to get a grasp of what good nutrition looks like. So once you know what your BMR is, you know what your TDE is approximately, then you can start to play around from there. And what that comes down to is incorporating a lot of whole foods into your diet. You want a lot of, I think, what is this guy on TikTok? He says, you want, oh my God, why can't I remember? Whole foods are things that came from the ground, came from a tree, or has a mom and dad. So like your fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes, grains, like rice, and then your meats, you know, before they're processed into like lunch meats or bacon. So 80% of your diet should primarily be whole foods. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I'm 70-30, sometimes I'm 80-20, sometimes I'm 90-10. I think a lot lately I've been leaning towards like the 70-30, but majority of the things that I eat on a daily basis are either unprocessed or lightly processed. Just to give you an example, for my breakfast, the only processed item there is the tortilla, and I have these Amy Lou sausage links. I usually don't include those, but I had to get rid of them. Those are the only two processed items there. I will drink a protein shake after my first break at work usually, and that's processed, obviously. And then lunch is a salad and chicken. So it's literally just vegetables, chicken, and then I have some like chickpeas and other like nuts and stuff because it's a Mediterranean salad. And then the processed part of that is my dressing. And then dinner is literally rice, chicken, and spinach, but it's made the Liberian way because it's so good. It's so fucking good. I have to refine it because I haven't made this recipe in like over 5 years. But that's essentially what a day of eating would look like for me. And I'm still gonna eat dessert. Okay, my dessert's gonna be processed. It's not gonna be Greek yogurt or whatever, but I would encourage you to look into look at people who are already in the fitness space. I would recommend to really see what they're eating and see how you can maybe mimic that in your everyday life. I wouldn't recommend just like switching over to it immediately because like I ate Burger King the other night. You know, it was great. It was fantastic. And you know what? It helped me break my plateau. You don't understand nutrition, and that's holding you back. It is literally going to be the biggest hindrance because if you don't understand nutrition, you are going to eat too much. That's my next point. That's point number 5. I wrote them down on note cards. This is the last one. You are going to eat too much if you don't understand nutrition, if you don't know how to track your food. I'm going to tie 5 and 6 together because you either already eat too much, that's why you can't lose weight, or you aren't being honest with yourself about how much you're eating. I would encourage you to use something like MyFitnessPal. I think there's the Lose It is another app that you could use to track your calories. I would also recommend getting a food scale because if you're, scooping things out with a measuring cup and you're like, well, I'm only eating this amount in servings, I guarantee that measuring cup does not equal how much the grams, how many grams they say it's supposed to be for a serving. You know how I know? Because I love rice, so I eat a lot of rice. We go through a 25-pound bag once a year. And I would scoop out a 1/4 cup of rice, because that's a serving. And if I go and weigh that 1/4 cup of rice, it's supposed to be 45 grams. I'm probably somewhere at 55 to 60 sometimes. Weighing your food is going to help you really dial in on how much you're eating. And then it'll help you scale back. Back to point number 1, because people want a quick fix, when they realize that they eat too much, what they do is they cut their calories. So you're eating 4,000 here. Instead of going to 3,000, which is still kind of high, I would say go to 2,200 maybe, because you can still eat a lot of food, whole foods at that amount. But they go from 400 calories to 1200, and 1200 is low. I wouldn't recommend 1200 for anybody, not even somebody who is 5'4", because not 5'4", I'm 5'4". Somebody who is like really short, like if you're 4'11". So yeah, I wouldn't recommend cutting your calories that low, but because you want a quick fix, because you want to get there faster, you cut your calories low. And not only is that like not sustainable, but it is likely to trigger overeating, right? Because you're like, dang, I'm restricting. The moment that you don't have to restrict, you're not going to overeat. And so that's why, you're going to overeat. And so that's why you want to be honest with yourself, one, about how much you're eating before you start your weight loss journey, and two, back to that understanding nutrition, know what your TDEE is and know what is a reasonable amount of calories for you to eat in order to induce weight loss. Because again, you can have like a 500 calorie deficit, and that'll help you lose, like I said, 1 pound a week is good. That's 52 pounds a year still. That's great. That's fantastic. I see like lots of people do lose, a whole 80 or 90 pounds in a year, but sometimes, they're pushing themselves harder than they really should or really need to. You don't have to meet somebody else's, like, you don't have to do the same journey they did, because you're different. You're not them. You might have kids, you might not have kids, you might work in an office, you might work from home. Sorry. Gain an understanding of nutrition, track the foods that you're eating, and weigh the foods that you're eating. Also understand that, like, yeah, it does come down to how many calories you eat at the end of the day. And a lot of people will pull the argument that some people have slower metabolisms than others. Sure, whatever. You burn 100 less calories a day than the person who's identical to you, right? All that means is that you have to either eat 100 less calories a day to lose weight, or lose weight slower. That's an option. Or you can increase how many calories you burn by doing more exercise. But it's not going to cover, an entire 500 calories. Like I said, you can burn like maybe 100 to 200 calories a day just based off of exercise. Not much more than that. Obviously, if you are bigger, you're going to burn more. But whatever. If you are eating too much and lying to yourself about how much you're actually eating, then you are not ready to lose weight. You aren't mentally ready to lose weight, because losing weight is more mind over matter. Like I said, I was stuck in a plateau for like 2 months, and part of that was because I was overeating. I know that I was overeating, but for the most part, I was pretty much at maintenance, right? And so I finally got to a point where I broke the plateau, and I feel better, mentally, and everything just is more clear now. But what I did for myself is I stopped weighing myself. At a certain point, I was just like, okay, I went a couple days where I wouldn't log it, because it was hard on my mental state, right? Because I'm stressing about, whether or not I'm going to be able to lose weight. I was worried that, like, maybe I did have that genetic component that's going to make it harder for me to, keep shedding fat. But I pushed through it. I kept working out. I kept eating clean. Did I overeat some days? Did I indulge? Yeah, I had a great time, but I kept doing what I knew worked. I didn't stop meal prepping. I didn't stop weighing my food. I kept going. And so if you are not mentally there, if you're not in a place where you can truly dedicate the time and energy, because it does take time and energy to meal plan, meal prep, and then do the grocery shopping, and then cooking, cleaning, and all that, you're not going to be successful in the long term, because it is a mentality that you have to develop and like keep over a long period of time. Like I said, it's a lifestyle change. I'm not gonna lose all this weight and then go back to eating, oh my God, I would eat like 4 pieces of French toast. And so, like, it's not just the bread, like, and not the fucking triangles, like 4 whole pieces of French toast plus eggs and hash browns and bacon for breakfast, because that's like a whole day's worth of calories, low key, and I'm gonna gain weight. But I do know that if I incorporate high protein, healthy fats, and a fruit or vegetable into my breakfast, I'm gonna be full for a decent period of time. I also like to make sure there's a decent amount of fiber in there because that's also going to help you be full. And so this lifestyle change, it happens physically, but it happens mentally. And it's all about not letting your habits control you. So that's point number 8. Your habits control you. You have a bad day at work, you go to the store, you get yourself a sweet treat because that makes you feel better. Somebody stresses you out, you're fighting with your boyfriend, you start drinking alcohol that has lots of empty calories, guys. But you start drinking and you're just chugging it down because you're like, I don't want to feel anything, and you don't think about how many calories there are in the alcohol. But not only that, the alcohol leads you to make poor decisions. So then you go to Taco Bell and get you a fucking luxury box. You know, the luxury box is easily 1,400 calories on the low end. I don't really eat that much Taco Bell, so I don't know. But I do know that when you are not mentally ready, you cannot make, or you can't pull yourself out of those habits. It gets harder because a lot of times those habits are your coping mechanism. That's how you handle the world around you. That's how you deal with your emotions. If you are an emotional eater, I was an emotional eater. Anytime I was upset, I would get something sweet because something sweet made me feel good. You're gonna have to learn how to deal with those emotions in a different way, in a healthier way. Sometimes when I get upset, I start running because I have the ability to hold a lot of anger in my body. I'm like that picture of Stitch from Lilo and Stitch where she's like, this is how much bad you have in you. That's how much anger I can have in me. And so I know that, there are a couple options. I can blow up, I can eat, or I can go get this energy out of me. And like changing your mental and not letting those habits control you, you might need to seek therapy. So I'm going to start talking about my 600-pound life here because I think that Dr. Now should start some of his patients in therapy sooner. I think that would help them because, he's handling patients that have severe food addiction. You cannot be 600 pounds or more without having a severe food addiction, okay? Therapy is going to help you work through those things that have the traumas that you may have faced, or just really help uncover the patterns and the habits that you might want to break. And so therapy is one tool that you can use to help jumpstart your weight loss. But another tool you may need that may also help, overcome that mental block is maybe some meds or, weight loss surgery. I'm not going to push that on anybody. I would recommend therapy first because, you don't want to start taking something and then have bad side effects, or, get surgery and have side effects, right? So seek therapy first, because a lot of times we have unconscious habits and beliefs and that really stem from like our childhood. Like my dinner this week is something that I ate a lot growing up, and I'm like, well, how did I eat so much of this? Like or how did I gain so much weight eating like this? But it was like I was eating huge portions because that's what I saw. My dad ate huge portions. My mom's portions were decent, but everyone else, we were all eating pretty big fucking portions of food. And now I'm like realizing I can't keep eating like that. I can't keep thinking like that. I have to really work on changing who I am internally so I can be who I want to be externally. But the last thing is, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this one. You make too many excuses. When I say you make too many excuses, I'm not talking about legitimate things like, your kids have a crazy schedule that you have to keep up with. I'm not talking about things that's like you genuinely cannot afford to, lose weight, or not lose weight, but eat healthy or have a gym membership. And this is a tricky one because, sometimes you do have reasons. I have HS. I can't say it. It's hidradenitis suppurativa. I have HS. So that means that I get awful, like boils basically, in various parts of my body. I get them almost everywhere that they are commonly found, okay? And so I could use that as an excuse to say, well, I just can't work out. It's chronic. I've had this for, what years is 2025? I was 12. So 15 years. And so I've had these symptoms for 15 years of my life. And they are painful. They're debilitating. I've had to like call out of work. I've had moments where I couldn't raise my arm because I've got one the size of a fucking golf ball down there. But just because I have a physical chronic condition, does not mean that I don't have other tools in my belt to help me lose weight. Because it might prevent me from exercising every now and then, but it doesn't prevent me from eating a cleaner diet, which honestly, eating better helps a lot more with managing the symptoms and flare-ups, because I get a lot of flare-ups closer to my period, but I also get flare-ups if I have been drinking too much, if I'm stressed, if I'm eating way too much sugar, way too much dairy. There are certain things that can cause really bad flare-ups for me, and I know how to avoid it, so that way I can be successful on the journey, but also to just take care of my body, right? And losing weight is also gonna help me reduce the symptoms, you know, being overweight. I wasn't like super morbidly obese. I've never been super morbidly obese. I was class 2 at my highest weight, highest recorded weight. Like I was probably class 3 at some point. All I'm saying is I didn't let that be an excuse. I know that a lot of women use PCOS as a reason for why they can't lose weight, but when you understand that being overweight can exacerbate some of your PCOS symptoms, it should urge you to want to do more to reduce those symptoms, right? Not only that, but you know, just because it's hard doesn't mean it's impossible. Losing weight is hard. It is hard. It is simple, but it is difficult, not easy. And it's not linear. You know, lots of people will lose 50 pounds, gain back 10, lose another 20, gain back 5. You know, it happens. A lot of times, because you want that quick fix, because you say you've tried everything, you tried Jenny Craig, you tried Weight Watchers, you tried Atkins, keto, carnivore, vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, whatever. Don't let your don't let your reasons become excuses, okay? Stop searching for the quick fix. Stop crash dieting. Exercise because it's good for you, but it's not going to solve your problems. Gain a stronger understanding of nutrition, because that's 80% of the journey, and it's going to be part of the journey for the rest of your life. Be honest with yourself about how much you're eating. If you are not mentally ready to lose the weight, do the things that you need to do to get you there. So go to therapy. Start taking, you know, ADHD or depression medication. Obviously, there are situations where it's not accessible, but you have to do things within your power to change the things you want to change. Nothing changes unless you change, and if you don't start putting in that work, you're not going to get to where you want to be. You got to stop letting those habits control you. And you got to stop making excuses. I used every excuse in the book. Like I said, you know, oh, this is just how I'm meant to be. Oh no, I'm not that kind of girl. I can't eat whatever I want and stay the same way. I just gain weight. It's just in my genes. It's in my blood. The only thing that was in my blood was a lot of sugar. And I'm still losing weight, right? I still have about 40 or something pounds to lose. Maybe like less than 10 pounds till I'm even in the Whitney Holcomb said overbeast, and I can't stop saying it. I basically am overbeast though, right? I'm like on that cusp of overweight and obese. I'm on the obese side right now. This is kind of rambly, and I just really wanted to make another video because I think it just makes me really sad when I see people just get so disheartened about why they can't lose weight. And it's like, sometimes we do just need to be honest with ourselves, and sometimes you do need a hard reality check to progress. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that, you know, you got something from it. If you did, leave me a heart emoji in the comments. It's my heart hand specifically. That's my favorite. I sent it to my boss the other day at work. It felt weird. Catch me on FaceTime trying to pop up the heart hands. Yeah, that's me. Okay, I've quoted 2 other YouTubers. I'm gonna quote one more. This one's Michelle McDaniel. You don't need to be a size 2 or to have big biceps to be healthy. Is that it? I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know. Okay, whatever. We'll do this again in the future.